Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. I saw this tweet from Gold Telegraph, and breaking news: Brazil and Argentina will this week announce that they are starting preparatory work on a common currency. The future is coming. Now, you've heard me say on this channel before, if you've been around, that I was told, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and I don't say who, but I was told 2 or 3 years ago that XRP was created to replace the PetroDollar. That's what I was told. Now, that could be wrong, but I'm just saying that's what I was told. It was created to prevent World War III. So you think about where we are. Nobody maintains the world reserve currency status forever. Doesn't happen. You know, history will tell you that. So what I've always thought about, and it's naive and stupid to think that the United States did not prepare for the day when they would lose the world reserve currency status. That's why I believe that XRP, I've always thought that what made sense was that you would go to all these countries and you would say, look, here's a compromise. We know that it's not fair to you guys, and we're not going to have the world reserve currency status forever. But there's a compromise, and that is a bridge currency. That's how I've always thought of XRP. You can build these other countries' CBDCs on them on private ledgers, and then when those walls come down, they can be transferred through XRP, a bridge currency. So watch this Glenn Beck clip, okay? And then I'm going to show you another clip.
Saudi Arabia, China, Russia, they're starting to move their entire economy. Russia is now backing their ruble with oil. So it's like a petro.
Now, I'm going to start that at the back again. Before you watch this, I want you to think. Everybody knows the importance of nuclear bombs and nuclear weapons. It's how everybody, you prevent each other from going to war with each other when everybody knows they've got nuclear missiles and all. It's like a preventative measure. But let me tell you what's more important than nuclear bombs, and that is the U.S. dollar status as a world reserve currency. Are you telling me that the United States would just sit on their hands and not plan for this day? He's talking about the death of the petrodollar.
Saudi Arabia, China, Russia, they're starting to move their entire economy. Russia is now backing their ruble with oil. So it's like a petrodollar. Oh, that'll never work. Oh, wait a minute, that's what we did. Until Saudi Arabia said, yeah, we're going to accept anything, really. Even Chinese can pay us in the yuan. We're fine with that. Take a ruble, whatever. What does it mean? Why have we not discussed? What does it mean with the death of the petrodollar? It means that half the world, the part of the world that's not with us, is no longer required to hold a dollar, a U.S. dollar. What happens when half the world's countries say, oh, we don't need the dollar? They begin to sell them. They already are. And if they're sold, what happens? They go out in the system instead of in a bank, which does what? Too many dollars in the system chasing too few goods, inflation goes up. So what do? You raise interest rates. Well, the problem now is, as we are seeing the death of the petrodollar, you're also seeing the Fed in a very unusual place. Raising even another half point is spooking everybody who pays attention to this stuff. The Fed has to raise interest rates to get inflation under control. But when they do that, this is how they control inflation. They take more money from you. They slow your spending down. And so that causes you not to go chase those goods with the dollar. Okay? And then they're supposed to take those dollars in interest that they get, take them back into the Fed and destroy them so there's not too many dollars. So the first step on this road is to hurt you and your bank account and your ability to buy things.
So the USA is in an impossible situation. Well, how does this involve XRP? I think Linda P. Jones sums it up perfectly right here.
That was that Russia disclosed they are going to be trading oil with China. This is huge news because of what's been known as the PetroDollar. When Henry Kissinger went to Saudi Arabia and convinced them to trade oil in dollars, and we, the U.S., would defend Saudi Arabia, that was a huge deal. And that's been in effect for many, many years, in fact, decades. Now, with Saudi Arabia turning to China and saying, we're going to sell our oil in yuan, the effect of that is to undo that deal and stop the petrodollar, which will dramatically reduce the world's demand for dollars. This is another blow against the US dollar, against the Federal Reserve. Between Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the BRICS nations forming the CIPS, the cross-border interbank payment system, to bypass the SWIFT banking system. Well, now you have a situation where countries are lining up with Russia and leaving the dollar. Add to that the fact that the Chinese yuan and the Russian ruble have both talked about backing their currencies with gold, and now you have two more desirable currencies, possibly, than the US dollar, which is still fiat-based. This is where I think we can see that XRP could be the one to save the day, because it could come in as the world's reserve currency on a digital basis. It could be the one that could be the bridge currency between any other currency. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't become some form of national security that we need to do something about the dollar, and that might be to create a central bank digital currency using XRP to create those central bank digital currencies and be the bridge between them. So I hope during this whole bout of volatility that I've given you some confidence and some things to think about to help you through this, whether that was holding through it or being able to buy the dips.
Folks, here's the other thing, and this is a story I'll relate to you. I'm pretty sure Brad Combs has related it to you before. In 2019, I was sitting in the room in Singapore when Brad Combs asked the former central bank head of India, and literally asked him if he thought XRP could be kind of like what the Bancor proposal was. And the first thing I noticed is that he wasn't laughed out of the room, and the central banker did not laugh. The other thing I noticed is there was a low clap that went on that you couldn't hear from the video. But the other thing that Brad Combs himself told me is that David Schwartz got up and walked out of that room, and I think I'm allowed to tell this story. Got up and walked out of that room, and that Brad Combs left and followed him and said, was I out of line asking a question like that? And he told me that David Schwartz, and I'm gonna ask Brad before I release this video if I'm allowed to say this, but he said that David Schwartz basically said to him, because they were having this conversation about XRP as a bridge reserve currency to the world, and David Schwartz said something to the effect of, well, who else is going to do it? China? As if to say, almost to say, nobody would trust China to serve that role. And I'll never forget that. Now, what we're talking about is petrodollar and gold and XRP, and that's why Glint's one of my sponsors. The link's in the top of the description of this. I own physical gold, and I have gold in my Glint account. So I feel like between that and my XRP holdings, I've got all the bases covered. I can't buy barrels of oil, but maybe I should find a vehicle to invest in oil too, because they're all involved here. Moving along. Now, what I'm going to show you in the rest of this video falls into this too. There's a lot on the line. The stakes are high, folks. And when the stakes are that high, I don't trust the government. I've said the same guy that told me way back when that XRP was to prevent World War III and replace the PetroDollar, same guy said to me that it's not for you. In other words, this was never for retail. Now, that doesn't mean that you and I can't benefit from having been here when nobody else was here. That's not what we're saying, so don't get scared about that. But what I am saying is that I don't trust the government, and a government that's not honest with its people is not trustworthy. And so that's why we always talk about these topics in terms of protecting ourselves in any means, by any means necessary. That's the reason that I'm interested in all the XRP buyback talk, not because there's going to actually be a buyback, but because these guys are putting the discussion on record to let the government know that we know this thing's is going to be worth a lot in this scenario. And that's the way. And I'm not saying $50,000 or whatever. You'll see a number today that's even wilder than that. Okay, eGrag Crypto. XRP big move is brewing. XRP had 5 attempts at 4HTF break, Bears are pulling, but bulls will hit them hard. If the bull pennant formation is completed, then XRP will pump. We shall see. Now, so against the backdrop of all that, folks, remember, it's not for you. Remember that little comment? Confirmation that Binance has been cut off from SWIFT. Now, you know, one thing that I've said a lot on this channel, I don't think there's going to be, I think 99% of crypto is going to go away, but I think that there will be 10 or 15. Which ones of those we're allowed to hold, I don't know. But here's what I do know, is SWIFT has cut off Binance. It says the bank partner that services your account has advised that they are no longer able to process SWIFT. Now, I don't know if this was just one bank or what, but then you also have this from Wall Street Pro breaking. SWIFT will no longer process fiat currency transfers from bank accounts to cryptocurrency exchanges with a value of less than $100,000 effective February 1, 2023. Now, the way I read this is it's all exchanges. The move will thwart crypto access to tens of millions of people worldwide. What does this mean? Crypto investors will not be able to use their bank account to buy and sell crypto with USD via SWIFT with a value of less than $100,000. It says update. It seems like Signature Bank imposed the 100K cap, not SWIFT. So they're saying here, I don't know what all's true, but here's some other things I know. What this all reminds me of is this, because, you know, I've heard many go, well, they can't get my crypto. I have it on a Ledger Nano OS. Listen, if the governments want to have your crypto, they can make your crypto worthless if they want to. They can cut off the entry and exit ramps to your crypto. I mean, there's a lot of ways they could tax your crypto out of existence. There's a lot of ways that they could do it. Okay. Now, this was from Kendra Hill, who used to be on social media. Cryptocurrency will be made illegal. This is not a maybe. This is a warning. Nothing is left up to chance. Our world is always planned years in advance. If you fail to plan, you are planning to fail, and failure is not an option. Allowing additional currencies to exist when the world is only using one would be disruptive, so it will not be tolerated, and it will be easier to stop than you think. The illusion is that Bitcoin, for example, is untouchable. The reality is that it is government controlled through a use of mining pools. Any cryptocurrency aiming to be decentralized digital currency will not survive. The one that we will use has already been chosen. Folks, I'm not saying they're going to ban all cryptocurrency. That's not what I'm saying. I think there's going to be 10 or 15, and I think that those are the ones, and I hope XRP is one of them that we're going to get to use freely. But I also know this. Don't forget about this, folks. SEC this is from February 24th, 2022. SEC plans to 10 times the definition of accredited investor. SEC is considering raising the threshold for who can be considered a so-called accredited investor. The proposed limit of $10 million would make it even harder for ordinary people to invest in startups. All right. According to Bloomberg, this is not the first time the SEC is considering changing the rules, but in the past it's been about modest tweaks. This time it's different. The agency is expected to pick it up again in April with a request for public comment on changing the definition of accredited investor to at least 10 million as per the agency's fall 2020. Now, this may have changed, folks, but the point is that you can't trust this government with any of this stuff. Now, to drive the point further home about how it's not for you, and again, I'm not saying that you and I can't profit from XRP. We can, we will, I believe. But it was not built for us.
Many people are using...
This is Dilip Rao from Ripple.
Many people are using cryptos just to buy and sell and make quick gains out of it. Does it hurt the growth of cryptocurrencies, that usage for a quick buck?
So, I mean, it's kind of chicken and egg. You have to create a marketplace. And right now, we have about 150, 200 exchanges around the world that trade in XRP. A lot of it, as you say, is very shallow trading by individuals. And that is not the use case that we are pursuing. What we are pursuing is the use of XRP as a financial asset by sophisticated institutions as a bridging mechanism. So does this hurt or harm? Well, it creates a lot of noise. And, we certainly don't want that much noise, but we're waiting. And for example, in this last quarter, the bulk of XRP sales were to institutional investors. And as this transitions away from retail to institutions, we'll start to use it for wholesale, financial usage. That's when the turning point will come.
Got it.
Well, that XRP lawsuit's coming to an end. I think a turning point is coming. Now, against the backdrop of all of that and talking about how, look, if the stakes really are this high, which I think they are, then I don't think that the XRP buyback thing is a bad exercise for everybody to go through. Now, there's all kinds of controversy going on. Now, Molly Elmore had tweeted this out. The evaluation team with XRP buyback confidential committee has worked diligently to answer that question, and she put this out this weekend. Okay, collateralization model. Now, I'm not weighing in on what I think or don't think or whether I agree or disagree, but this little number that they put out right here has got the crypto Twitter sphere going nuts. There's all kinds of people arguing and getting mad about what the committee has put out here. I'm not going to put that on my thumbnail. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put asterisks in place because I'm afraid that it will make people too angry to even put those numbers out there. So I'll put asterisks instead of the numbers. All right. Me putting the comma right there may cause too much controversy, but I'm willing to go there. I'm just not going to put the number itself. Okay. But you can see here, Molly Elmore, Matt Hamilton got upset with them and even took it to the point of saying they're either incompetent or fraudulent. He says differing opinions is one thing, but this is so far beyond and reasonable logic that the only conclusion is gross incompetence or fraud. They can choose which. And she says, I predict that one day Matt Hamilton and I will be BFFs. And finally, recall this season when we were valuing XRP to protect the interests of retail holders. We aren't quite there yet, clearly. So he says maybe one day we will, but you just published a valuation mode that implied that the Department of Defense are going to replace their guns and bombs, aircraft, tanks with XRP. I'm just not sure if you are trolling or smoking something very strong. She says, investment banks regularly value stocks and businesses using financial modeling. That's what we have done. You are the one making inferences beyond that. Okay. Look, I think the discussion is okay. I don't think anything's wrong with it. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family that there are some scary numbers that are going around that are really making some people mad in crypto. Twitter. Thanks for listening.